There you go. Thanks everyone for jumping on. I always appreciate everyone coming onto the call, just so we can share everything that we're doing on our end. And also, I think mentors, you guys find it really enjoyable to talk to each other's mentors in the same class and plan some outings or do some things. So, for me, it's always, two birds, one stone, and it's always a pleasure to talk to everyone. So I'm going to start sharing my screen. You should be able to see my presentation starting now. Okay. And then sense, sense. All right. As always, if you have any questions, if you have anything you want to interrupt me with, by all means, stop me. I'm more than happy to have those conversations. And I feel like conversations keep it going a little bit quickly. As always, if you're having any issues, send me a text. I have my cell phone right here in front of me, propped up just in case anything comes through. Um, so for some of the mentors, this is a new one. They haven't been on any before, or they may be watching the recording. So I just wanted to hit the slide again. I know I covered it last time, but just in case. But from 1:30 to 2:05, I have a presentation, information that I want to share with all the mentors. From 2:05 to 2:15, Q&A with mentors and each other, or mentors to me. But this way, that kind of allows that. Or if you need to take a restroom or water break, and then if you want to take a breakout room with your mentee, then that's available from 2:15 to 2:50. I put until 2:50 because that's the longest that we can have it available. After that, Esmeralda is going to get the tutors actually to their work site. But if you feel that you and your mentee are in a good spot and you want to end the call early, that's okay. Some mentors like to do calls in the evening or on weekends, not necessarily in the classroom. And that's why I always ask ahead of time, if you'd like a breakout room, just let me know and I can set one up. I have a few set up this afternoon. But if you didn't let me know, if you want to send me a message in the chat or text me, I can get that message out to Esmeralda. So I kind of wanted today to talk about introduce some of the team members who, for people who haven't met them, talk a little bit more about the career project, and then explain to you guys what we do in our college one-on-ones, because the sophomores actually just had one last week. So this material is kind of fresh in their mind, so I wanted to share it with all of you. And then, of course, the Q&A at the end. If you don't, I'm not going to do mine. Everyone knows me. But Anita works with our seniors. She's the assistant director for the high school program. She works with all of them on senior essays, college applications, resumes, scholarship applications, admissions, financial aid packages. She has the whole shebang. So everything that she does, she sees every year. And this way, we're also able to affect our programming for the younger grades for 9 through 11 to get them ready for senior year, because it is a lot of work put into the 12th graders. But if we're able to hit some of it early, we will, and that way it kind of eases the burden a little bit. The kids are always, I feel they're always great students when it comes to all the work they have to do. The seniors do tend to get overwhelmed. So I know some of you mentors had seniors last year or the year before. You know how much gets put into them, but if we're able to do it early, we will. Esmeralda is the one working with our sophomores and juniors. So she gets some guidance from Anita on what to prepare them with and what to help them with so that we can help them down the line, which is why we also started doing the career project, which I will share. Some of you already know about it because I did mention it briefly on the last call, but I just want to share a little bit more for those who did get to see that. And then Islan works with our middle school program and with the freshmen. And so our middle school program is brand new. This is the first year that it started. But what the goal is to find students who may just not have the resources to be a part of Tutor Corps when they enter high school. Maybe they're struggling with GPA or attendance or something in school. So our goal is to find those students, give them the resources they need, and then bring them into Tutor Corps as long as they're meeting our requirements. She's been doing a great job with those kids. Middle school is a whole different breed from high school, I've learned. The students are finding themselves, they're asking questions. Some of them are very, very confident, and others just want to hide away in a corner. I feel like we really only have the two extremes down in the middle, but we're working to get them there in the middle and feeling good about themselves as they enter high school. So I did share this in the last Zoom, but I know I have some new mentors and I wanted to share it just one more time. So the career project is something that we're having all the sophomores do. Like I shared, Anita shares with us what we can do better with the underclassmen students to get them ready for senior year. And one of the big concerns we have is that so many of them are so locked into one major or one career, or they have no idea what they want to do. So this kind of opportunity allows them to see, different careers, different jobs, different things that are out there. Because, for example, nursing. So many of the sophomores say they want to do nursing, specifically nursing, but they don't know how many different jobs they are out there, not just at the hospital, but at clinics, at physical therapy centers. There's teaching, there's education. And what was great is that we actually brought in someone who majored in nursing and is now an advanced practicing registered nurse for Healthcare Network here in Southwest Florida. She's a known friend of mine, and she was willing to come out and talk to them about her career. So they not only got to see that she didn't just stop at bachelor's, she got her PhD in nursing and is now studying to be an APRN. Um, she explained to them, the good things she likes about her job, things that she may not like about her job, but what her kind of day-to-day schedule looked like. And what the kids thought was really cool is they got to meet her at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a Tuesday, and she was wearing casual clothes. And they thought, once I go to my job, I'm gonna have to be in professional wear all day. And she explained to them, no, I have my casual clothes, I go to my locker, I change it to my scrubs, and then at the end of the day, I change out of my scrubs and go into my casual clothes again. And half of the kids, their mind was blown. And so it's those little things that they're not thinking about ahead of time, but it really shows them what different things are out there. But those career speakers who are talking about their schooling and degree level, this is where it comes into their career project. They're also understanding the demand for that job, the pay, and if there's turnover rates. Our goal with a career project is for them to actually present to the mentors and the parents when we have our mentor dinner on February 20th. We hope that all of you can come out that night. We haven't quite completed the logistics of that evening yet, but we will have the students presenting um, in sort of a science fair kind of mode to all the mentors and parents, because that'll also help them get a little bit more comfortable with talking to strangers or talking to new people that they may not have known ahead of time. Because at college fairs, Jorge and Abby shared with us, at college fairs or job fairs, when they're in college, they're so scared to talk to different people that they don't know. They're scared to approach someone that they have an interest in or an organization that they have an interest in and just start talking. So we're hoping that this may help a little bit. We know it's not going to be the perfect solution, but we at least introduce them to that idea. If we have time with the career project, we're also going to talk to them about how some of those careers actually go into a second career, or they transition out of the career, because that does happen. And then if we're hoping that we do have enough time for this as well, because this is a big one we want to hit, is the school research, the schools and universities that offer those programs for that specific major job. And that way the students know, this is the school I'm aiming for, this is the GPA I need to have, this is the test score, or the volunteer work, or the jobs that I needed to have to get accepted into this area. And so we're hoping that'll all come together. This is the first year we're doing it, so we do have a bit of a learning curve with it, but we're hoping that next year it'll be even better. Something that we always do is we always adjust our programming, tweak it, fine tune it, so that way we can be even better than we were last year. Any questions before I go into college 101s?
Daniel, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Craig.
Yep. So I love the fact that, so Michael, my mentee, is interested in nursing. So I love the fact that hopefully he got a chance to participate in that presentation you just mentioned. One thing I was thinking about, though, in addition, was, do you have former students that have come out of your program that have gone into nursing that have more of a contemporary experience, and particularly the fact that they came out of your program would make it even more relevant? And would it be worthwhile to try to put, if you have enough of a group, put together some kind of a panel discussion or whatever to, with people that are closer to their own experience and closer to their own age.
Yeah, so that APRN that we had out, I actually met her through Tutor Corps when I was in the Tutor Corps program. So she was from Immokalee and
Oh,
went on to
great.
UF and then USF. We haven't had a panel yet, but we're actually in discussions right now about hosting one based on education
Mhm.
for those students who are interested in education, because we're talking about not just school as a high school teacher, but also elementary, middle, early learning, and then even college level. So we're trying to get that arranged. What we also have is for the juniors and seniors, what you might be thinking about, Craig, is our leadership day. This past year, we had a panel. It was an engineer, a lawyer, and I believe it was I would need to double check, but I'm pretty sure it was a business owner. Two of those were actually Tutor Corps alumni who were in their field and in their career. So the students got to hear from these professionals who were doing really well in their jobs, and they were able to talk to them about, how it felt leaving Immokalee, going to their school, and now in their career. One of the big things that I don't know if any of you know Juana Perez Mandujano, but she's an engineer in the area, and what she talks to the students about is the imposter syndrome, where she felt like, maybe she didn't earn that because of where she came and how she experienced moving here from Mexico when she was about middle school. But she kind of talked to people about it, learned more about it, and actually finally accepted that she was doing so well. And I got to introduce her to one of our juniors who just moved to the US 2 years ago. And he's super shy in English, but when you put him in Spanish, he just explodes with information. And the fact that those two were able to connect was amazing. So we're trying to do more things like that. And
Great.
like you said, Craig, I think it really does make a huge difference.
Right. Very good.
Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, Daniel, I like this idea. Oh,
You might want to mute.
okay. I like this idea. How often do you get with them or work with them on this career project?
So we have our last career speaker next the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. It's a few doctors from a clinic out in Naples who are coming out to present. And the one after that, Esmeralda is going to start working with them every Tuesday to get this career project complete.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions for Equiport? All right. So while we are doing the career project and career speakers, we still also hit them with a lot of other things. One of the big things that we do with every class is known as a college 101. And so Jorge and Abby from the college team, actually, we meet every Tuesday with the high school team, the college team, and the after school team to brainstorm, to think of ideas, to come up with things that we can do better. And so one of them was that, oh, sorry, 1 second, guys. Where's my, I can't find my mute button. Sorry about that. But something we do with every grade is College 101. So Jorge and Abby work with our students once they graduate from high school and move on to college. They work with them consistently. And so something we're doing now, even though they're sophomores, is we're introducing Jorge and Abby to them. So that way they can get a little bit more comfortable with them. And that way, by the time they're seniors or they're in college, they know it's not a stranger. It's someone they've met before, they've worked with before. They're getting to know them. Jorge and Abby actually present on a variety of topics. So this first one was getting to know the college team. Next, they're actually going to cover terminology in college. So the financial aid, the student aid reports, the transcripts, the terms that most kids will have parents or siblings to help them with. If our kids don't have that, that's where Jorge and Abby come in and kind of show them the ropes, teach them. And we're introducing it to them now because, as you know, sometimes with high school students, it may go in one ear and out the other, but we're hoping at least the second or third time it'll stay in there. But that way they're getting introduced to it early. They're getting comfortable. Jorge and Abby like engaging them in those conversations, asking questions, sharing thoughts. The sophomores are kind of shy. There are a few that are really, really talkative, but there's also a few that just try to hide. So they will actually call on them. by name, or they'll point at them and say, what do you think? That way, in the group setting, they're getting a little bit more comfortable talking. So in this last college 101 on November 4th, oh, sorry, I thought it was last week, it was actually 2 weeks ago. But what the college team covered is that the scholarship that each student is earning is covering certain things under certain guidelines. So we have our tutor core scholarship guidelines. So they explain to those what those guidelines are, but basically that the scholarship covers tuition, room, books, flight, travel expenses, and they can also make appeals. So if, say, they have an internship somewhere, but they can't afford the flight to their internship, or maybe they need business professional wear, the scholarship has been appealed before to cover those items. That way the students, because what we do as seniors is to try to get them everything covered when it comes to room, board, and tuition. So that way their scholarship can cover the miscellaneous items that may come up. So Jorge and Abby did a great job of explaining to them that that scholarship is available to them. It's a last dollar scholarship, but they'll continue to do check-ins with them in college. In high school, we meet with them about once a month, individually one-on-one. In college, because they're all over the country and they have different class schedules, Jorge and Abby typically meet with them once or twice a semester to check in on their classes, their grades, their progress to their major, but works with them on that aspect. What they also kind of talked about is the right college fit. So we're hoping that this career project will teach them about majors and everything, but also Jorge and Abby are covering college fit when it comes to the size of the school and the distance from home. What you'll see with your students, a lot of you will see with your students, is that they either want to stay really close to home or they want to go really far away. There's no in between for them, but it's helping them understand what do you define as close or what do you define as far away? Because for some students, they said, I want to go close to home, and then they say FSU. And then we help them understand, that's a 7-hour drive. Do you have someone who can consistently take you when you start school, when you go on holiday break, meant back and forth? Are you gonna have a car, or are you gonna have to take the bus? And then those kinds of thoughts pop into their head, and they're like, oh, maybe a little bit closer, like UF, which is only 4.5 hours away, or USF, which is 2.5. Because what we also mentioned is that our partnership schools that are out of state, even though, yes, they do have to take a flight, that flight's only 2 to 3 hours. And as long as they schedule it appropriately, someone only has to go pick them up at the Fort Myers airport. And because their scholarship covers the flight, they're able to go there and find the flight that best accommodates their schedule. So Jorge and Abby kind of covered that as well, about finding the right college fit. What they also are going to cover in future meetings is they're going to reinforce the SAT and ACT. I've shared with all of you that all of our sophomores have Magoosh. I believe Esmeralda has set them all up with accounts, but the college team is covering ACT and SAT, not only for acceptances, but for Florida schools, if they get the Bright Future Scholarship, which does require some high test scores, they can either have 75% of their tuition covered or 100% based on their test scores and their GPA. For our students, the GPA is typically never the issue. They always meet those requirements without a problem. It's that SAT and ACT score. They're quite high. The last time I checked, I believe the ACT was like a 27, 28. Our students on average are only getting a 21, 22, 23. And then for the SAT, it was above a 1200. Our students score in the 1,000 to 1,100 range. My personal goal is for every student to have at least a 21 and a 1070. The reason being is that's the minimum requirement to be accepted into a Florida school. Ideally, they're getting higher so that they can get that Bright Future Scholarship, but sometimes it doesn't happen. And the reason we cover all this early is because the more time they spend preparing for the test, the higher their score can be. So this is the chart that they also shared with the students to cover what are the different types of colleges. It's a lot of information, so I'll just kind of cover it real quick, but they cover the differences between community and state college. Go ahead.
Daniel, could you just go back? I couldn't get out unmuted. What does the staff think the reason why the students are scoring so low on both of the national required entrance exams?
So there's a variety of reasons, but typically the biggest one is usually that they're not really great at taking tests. They feel the pressure. They feel like they can't perform as well, or they're in a time crunch that they're not accustomed to. So because of those factors, they kind of, you know, build upon their mistakes and they start getting more and more nervous and more anxious. The other reason being is they don't perform because they're both between English and Spanish. With the testing, it'll be primarily targeted towards English main readers. And we always tell the students, spend as much time as you can reading, but grammar is not something that's typically covered very well, I would say, here at Immokalee High. While they do English, they do reading, those grammars, those commas, the colons, semicolons can be tricky. And what I was always not a fan of on those tests is that for some of those reading and English tests, they'll have 4 options, 2 are wrong, 1 is right, and 1 is more right than the other one that's right. And that kind of trips up the students and has them thinking, no, I'm wrong, no, I'm right. And it's just, once they know the strategies, they get a little bit better, but we try to, that Magoosh portal will hopefully teach them a little bit more of the testing strategies that they can apply.
Have you shared, I mean, what does the other Immokalee students, you know, how are they in the same boat? I mean, I would think the high school would feel obliged to, you know, cover that grammar gap or the writing gap, or, you know, because, you know, after having been with a student for a while as a mentee, you know, for the prior 4 years, you know, I saw the same thing and I wasn't afraid to correct. But, you know, what's the dialogue between you guys in the school and what they're doing to help them along too?
So Immokalee High does spend a lot of time helping students with those tests, but more in the aspects of getting those tests to the score that they need to graduate high school. So they'll have the programs that are after school or on Saturdays. For math sections, it'll be because they didn't pass their Algebra 1 ELC. For reading, it'll be that they didn't pass their end of year English in grade 10 exam, because that literacy exam is a requirement for high school graduation. And so they're mainly focused on getting those students up there. I know they were trying to set something up this year to get students who are performing very well on those tests to do even better. But that was an idea in the last SAC meeting, and the next one is going to be at the beginning of December, which I will be at. And if I get more information, I will share it. But as of right now, there's not much.
Okay,
Could
well,
I just
you know,
say something also? Just my thought on this also is, you know, just from the girls I'm working with, they have a lot of at-home responsibilities. Their parents aren't home to support them. So I think really it goes back almost to that. I mean, hopefully the curriculum is good in school too. But, you know, like I know my one girl, her mother works from like 4 a.m. till 11 p.m, you know, so there's no father. So there's no parental support there as these kids are growing up, like you might have in other high schools and other areas, you know, that kind of thing. So that's just a thought of mine, but.
Yeah, and something Jorge and Abby actually covered with the freshmen yesterday is, you know, they asked the students, how much do you have in your schedule? And they broke down for them that our high school students, like tutor corps students, don't perform what an average high school student does. They get out of school, they go to our college prep meeting, and then they go to work from 3 to 5:30. They go home, they do their sport, or they do another club, and then they finally get some rest and eat dinner and then get to relax. But most of our students don't think of that as much because so many of our tutor corps students are doing all that, that it's not really like, they don't really see that, you know, I'm doing a whole lot more than others, because all they see is the other students who are doing almost the same as that.
Daniel, a question I had is can the school, or can you share what their current GPA is and what their current test scores are with us, or is that considered private?
So I try not to share GPA specifically, but what I can do is they're taking the PSAT this month. They haven't taken the SAT or ACT, and we're trying to collect those as soon as they're available. Hopefully I can share them like with each mentor their specific student score, as long as we can get it. But I won't put anything out there that has everyone's information, but I'll try to share what I can.
It's a little bit hard to advise them on, university selection and things like that, if you're completely in the dark about, you know, where they stand academically. And, you know, I talked to Michael for the first time, and he basically said, well, I get A's and B's, which is, you know, I don't want to doubt him on that, but I don't know what the real reality is, and what that would add up to, and what kind of, so, you know, just for example, I was looking at, I think it was University of Florida. If you want to get in the nursing program, you have to have at least a 3.7 plus GPA. So, you know, it's a little difficult to know. I don't want to steer him towards something he's going to fail at.
You know, yeah, I
we're
get
just
that.
way
And
under-
yeah, I'll share what I can. Something
Okay.
that's really great about certain universities like UF, USF, FGCU, they have programs specifically for first generation students that kind of tweak the requirements for their admissions a little bit. So we're able to work with those schools and get those students there. So I'll share a little bit more about that when they're juniors and when they're juniors. But I can kind of share a little bit about their GPAs and test scores once we have that all available.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So, and then what I will also add is, so we have, I would say, a really great batch of students. Last year, the average, I want to say the average GPA, we were at about a 4.2 amongst the senior class. Our number one senior, I mean, she's phenomenal. She's like one of the best students I've worked with, but she had a 5.46 GPA when she finished high school. And she also had her A. And so we do have some students who perform at that level, and we have some students who have that 3.4 or 3.5, which is okay too. And we'll tailor those schools to them. What we'll also do when they're seniors as well is we collect 9 schools from them. They're 3 just right, they're 3 safety, and they're 3 reach schools. And then what we also try to do, if we can, is share those with mentors. That's something I'm trying to do this year for the first time. So that's kind of new, but we'll try to share those as we can. So with the sophomores, what Jorge also added is that there's a difference between schools. So there's the community and state colleges, the public colleges and universities, private colleges and universities, liberal arts colleges, technical and trade schools, HBCUs, Hispanic serving institutions, for-profit colleges, religious colleges and universities, and online colleges. Because the students, when you say college, all they think of is college. They don't think of, you know, the breakdown of the difference between FSW and FGCU, or FGCU and Bowdoin College, or any other schools that are out there. They don't think these technicalities, they just think of the main schools. So what he also shared is that the community and state colleges, they don't require a test. They don't require that SAT or ACT. So the students got introduced to that for the first time. But what he also shared is that public colleges and universities here in Florida, at least, do require the ACT and SAT. Private colleges, what a lot of them do, because some of them are partnership schools, they're test optional. And it doesn't hurt the student if they apply test optional and don't send their test scores. It's no way harming their admissions chance. It's actually benefiting them a little bit more because they're weighing more of their GPA, their volunteer, their work, their involvement, rather than looking at a test score that they may not have done so well in. He also kind of covered the differences between types of degrees and information about those degrees. And then he also provided examples of those schools. So the community state colleges are FSW, Tallahassee State College, Miami-Dade College, whereas the public university system in Florida includes UF, FSU, USF, UCF, FIU. And then the private colleges that we have partnerships with include Arcadia, Augustana, and then, so he wouldn't include just the partnership schools. He also included that University of Miami and Ave Maria, which is nearby, are private schools. So he's trying to introduce them to these ideas, and we're hoping we take a lot of that with them. Those students share that information at home or with their siblings, or but at least they're getting introduced to these topics. And the College 101s, I feel, are doing a really great job of not just teaching them, the students, that information, but getting them comfortable with Jorge and Abby. The biggest lesson I try to teach the high school students is that it's okay to ask for help. Everyone struggles at one point or another. So as long as they're willing to ask for help and finding the right person to ask for help from, then they can go a lot farther than they would anticipate. And then, oh, this is just something I have from the last time, but we do check the GPAs, Craig, so I will try to share those. If they're taking dual enrollment classes at FSW, we track that GPA as well. We track the number of hours that they work in the after-school program because that's how we get their scholarship funds. And then Esmeralda, in the next about month, is collecting the majors and careers from the students. She's also collecting their SAT and ACT registrations and the time they spend on Magoosh over the course of this month. And then, if you'd like to meet with your mentee here in person at the center, we do have available this Saturday actually, and then January 11th. Both those days are available from 9 to 1. There is an organization that uses our room for testing. And so if you'd like to meet with your student in person and not have to worry about having another mentor or the student bringing a friend, those are 2 Saturdays where we'll have a staff member here, and you're more than welcome to use one of our mentor lounges or one of our offices to meet with your mentee. Any questions?
Daniel, what time is the center open on that Saturday, or all the Saturdays?
From 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Mhm. Any other questions?
Something, Daniel.
Go ahead, Gene.
So as you remember with me there, so are you guys now working with the guidance counselors that make sure they don't mislead the kids that calculus isn't available or physics when they can get them? I mean, the superintendent seemed to be pretty open to helping for the courses that aren't offered at Immokalee.
Yeah, so last year they only offered calculus as an online class, which don't get me started on classes for the high school students, but this year they actually offered calculus as a course at Immokalee High. And so what we've also started to do this year with all the students is we collect their schedules and classes at the beginning of the year, look at their schedule, compare it to the student and see if it's actually manageable. What has happened before is that for some reason the counseling team registered a high school student for 3 high school classes and 4 college classes. This is more for the juniors and seniors, which I thought was not a great idea. So now what we started to do at the beginning of every semester is we collect every student's schedule, see where they're at and see if they can manage that. And if we feel hesitant that they may not be able to handle that, we meet with the student in person and talk to them about their schedule and what they should expect. Fortunately, this semester, we only had 2 that we were worried about. They were seniors. They had taken college classes before, but this semester they were both registered for 5 classes instead of 4. But we laid out their schedule, their routine, their study habits, and that way they're doing well right now, which is something we're happy for. But we're doing it across the board for all grades, collecting those schedules, looking at them, looking at the intensity, because some are taking AP, ACE, honors regular, and making sure that it's something that they can handle.
Good.
Can I ask a question about the dual enrollment classes? Are those usually just senior classes, or are they different year classes?
So classes with FSW are available for sophomores, juniors, and seniors. They have to pass a test. It's known as either the PERT test or the AccuPlacer test, or they can take the SAT or ACT test. FSW has a lot of options for that one. They can do classes either part-time or full-time instead of classes at Immokalee High. They can classes for FGCU are available to juniors and seniors. They have to have a score on either the SAT or ACT. There are no other tests in that option. To continue with dual enrollment, students have to maintain, I believe it's a 2.5 GPA. Our students don't typically have that issue. But what we'll also do with those students is we'll monitor their grades throughout the semester. And so if you ever ask your student, how are your grades? And they say good, that's typically the answer is good. So we add another question. We ask them to send us a screenshot, or we ask them for their login information. And then that's when they get a little nervous because they haven't checked it in a week or so. But our students are pretty good about getting their assignments in. So if you want to ask your student for a screenshot of their grades, it'll show their classes and it'll show what they have at that time. And then later on, like Craig requested, I can try to send out the GPAs to mentors for their business. Can I answer your question, Mary? Okay. Any other
Daniel, I have
questions?
one more
Go ahead,
question
Craig.
for you. Regarding if your mentee has selected a career path, and that career path has certain course requirements
Mhm.
to apply to college, is that something that we need to be advising him about, or do you have advice on? And I just want to make sure, whatever those requirements are, that I'm continuing to dialogue to make sure he's focused on those requirements. So I just want to
Yeah,
how
no
that-
problem. Our college team actually helps us out with that. So for example, nursing. We have a student right now who's a senior who is now in her 3rd semester of taking full-time college courses. So we actually brought in the college team because she actually in the spring will have to take the nursing exam as a high school student because her acceptance is so close that she's going to have to take that exam while in high school. So we brought in the college team who worked with the other nursing students, walked her through the registration process. She's now registered. I believe she's taking it, I believe she said at the end of January. She's very nervous. And I told her, what did you be? You're a high school student taking this kind of level of exam. But we bring in the college team, and then we called her mentor to let her know, what process we went through with that student, how she got registered and when she's taking it. And that way the mentor also knows kind of where we're at with that student.
Okay, so I'm sorry, that didn't quite help me understand. How do I know which classes my mentee needs to be focused on, making sure that he checks all those boxes before he's trying to put an application in to be in the nursing program, that he's got his prerequisite courses taken? I just want to make sure I'm reminding him of those things.
Yeah, so for those, we advise them on their high school classes that they need for admissions to the university. We'll make sure that they're on the right classes and getting the right grades for those courses.
Okay, so we don't have to follow up on that.
No. And if your student is performing at such a high level that their admissions into college might be pulled into question, for example, that nursing student, then we'll still advise them as well to make sure that they're taking the right courses.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, we can take a quick 5-minute water break, restroom break until 2:15. If you requested the breakout room, I'll send you in at that time. But if you didn't request the breakout room and you want to log off, you're more than welcome to. But thank you everyone for joining, and I will now stop the recording.
Hey, Daniel, I don't